We're gonna move down to this office over here. We are on the second floor, so it's not very available to the citizens. Okay. So it's better when we come down to ground floor.
This is Tomaj Keyvani. He works for Botkyrka municipality to develop Hallunda and Norsborg, which is one of the areas that the police have defined as particularly vulnerable. We meet in the shopping mall in central Hallunda, where there's busy activity. Tomaj Keyvani puts it down to the new owners of the shopping mall, who've taken over after the previous owners went bankrupt and the place was left in receivership for 4 long years. So for a long time, not much investment was done here?
Barely none, I would say. Barely none. But the new owners are we have seen some very positive changes. As you can see in the middle here, it used to be a bit chaotic, and they fixed this. The first thing they did, they put down the new floor and opened it up, so it's a much better atmosphere here now. They have fixed some lightings, they have fixed some walls, the painting, stuff like that. It sounds simple, but all of these things together enhances the atmosphere.
Just around the corner from here, a spectacular smash and grab robbery took place a year ago at a jewelry store. The picture of a red car inside the shopping mall that had crashed the high-security windows of the jewelry shop put Hallunda briefly in the news.
A car went in here, just past Supergrossen, and crashed into this window, and it created a lot of, people got afraid and worried that something like this could happen.
But we're quite far in.
Yeah. And they don't regard anything when they do these things.
This was the second time that a car smashed through the windows to the same jewelers, and only after that did the previous owners of the mall get around to place bollards by the entrance to prevent cars from entering it that way. A typical example of how the cooperation with the previous owners of the shopping mall didn't work, says Tomaj Keyvani. I speak to the owner of the jewelry shop. He doesn't want to be on tape, but he shows me the frightening CCTV footage of the robbery and the place in the wall where the robbers shot with an automatic weapon to try to scare him and his colleague to come out of the small bathroom where they had barricaded themselves. 25 minutes it took for the police to come, he says. By that time the robbers were long gone. But he doesn't think the robbery took place here because it's in Hallunda. These things happen to jewelry shops all around the country, he says. It happened in Upplands Väsby recently. What he does think, though, is that criminals in Sweden have a thing for jewelers. His cousin in Holland has no such problems, he says. Not far from the jewelers is a newsagent's where Ambreen works. She's pretty cool when I ask her whether she feels safe working here.
Det är helt okej faktiskt. Det hände lite saker i början av förra året kan man säga.
Yeah, it's okay, she says. There were a few things happening in the beginning of last year when the jewelers got robbed, but on a day-to-day basis it's completely okay.
Vardagen är helt okej faktiskt.
We talk about Hallunda and how some people want to brandish it as a no-go zone for the police, and she just shrugs.
Nej, jag har bott i Alby snart 23 år.
She's lived in Alby for almost 23 years, she says, and sure, when her daughter started at the English school, she had a friend in Farsta whose parents wouldn't allow her to come here because they felt it was too dangerous. But Ambreen and her family, they live here and their kids go out.
Visst, om jag går till andra områden, till exempel Danderyd eller Vaxholmen och sådär, så det är helt annan standard där.
Sure, she says, if I go somewhere else like Danderyd or Vaxholm, I can see that it's a different standard there. And of course you wonder, why haven't we got the same standard? But I don't want to think negative about this. I can see the people here are different. There are more immigrants, and that can be even better in some ways. But this is all Sweden. We have the same rights. We shouldn't feel that we're abandoned. We need to fight for our rights, she says.
Man ska kämpa för sina rättigheter.
A bit further along, I find Carlos, who's fed up with the situation.
Polisen vet ju att det röks hasch och marijuana här uppe i utgången.
Police knows that people are smoking pot by the exits here, he says. That shouldn't be acceptable in today's society. And weapons, they need to do something about the weapons. It's as if it's become normal for people to have them, he says.
Det händer ingenting. Vapen har blivit som vanligt.
Meanwhile, George Gibrell, who owns one of the stores in the mall, thinks things have improved. Do you feel that there's a good cooperation with the police here?
Not before, but now I think last few months and stuff like that, I see them often. They come here and visit and go around. They make themselves visible, and I think that's good. When people see the police many times, then they feel safety as well.
But do you feel that it's a no-go zone?
No, not directly. I don't know. Maybe just because I'm born here and I'm comfortable here. That's why I don't feel that one. But lucky for me, I haven't been in those ways, so I don't feel that, no.
Tomaj Keyvani from the municipality says they're regularly asking people living in the area if they feel safe here.
We have a survey we do every year, and the numbers are low compared to other parts of Stockholm and even other parts of Botkyrka. But they are slowly going up. Like in 2014, the number of people who answered positively on the question, do you feel safe in Hallunda, Norsborg? It was 39%. 2015 it was 42%, and 2016 it's 46%. So it's slowly going up, but still it's quite low, to be honest.
How many take part in that survey?
Around 500 people every year, and it's sampled so that we ask different people, different ages, men and women, different parts of the area, so that it's not only in Hallunda or only in Norsborg or only in Slagsta. But it's definitely one of the areas we need to work much more with.
But when I mention the talk of no-go zones to Tomaj Keyvani, he gets annoyed.
By whom? Who are using it? We don't use it. The police doesn't use it. The police haven't been using it for a couple of years. So the people who use it, you have to look up who they are and why they use that kind of rhetoric. If this was a no-go zone, then we wouldn't have the interest we have from construction companies to build residential houses here. Smoa and Titania, two big firms, they want to develop, I think, up to 400 housing units in this area. And there's a lot of interest in these houses. To say that it's a no-go zone, that means a lot of things. And as you see, there's a lot of people walking around here, doing their business here, shopping here. We have 23,000 people living here, and well, apparently they live here and they are prospering. So we acknowledge that we have problems. We have big problems in central Norsborg, for instance. But what's important for us is that, you know, there's degrees in hell, grader i helvete, and you shouldn't over-exaggerate things. You shouldn't under-exaggerate them either, because then you can't solve them. But the thing is, there's some groups, some parts in society who have an interest in painting a much darker side of these areas than is the reality, and that's something we have to be prepared for. So I'm not saying everything is perfect. Far from it. Far from it. Especially when it comes to the business owners. I understand them when they say that they are angry and they are fed up. The good thing now is that we have an owner in Hallunda, a new owner, who seems to be very well prepared and very ambitious. And from what I understand, at least one of the partners is from this area. He's grown up here. He has a feeling for this area and he wants to develop it. And the same thing with Norsborg, that there's new owners on place. And what they say to us is that they want to develop, they want to build, they want to change the situation. And you know, that's what we have been wanting for maybe 8 years now, if not more.